A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. A leper came to Jesus and, kneeling down, begged him and said, "If you wish, you can make me clean." Moved with pity, he stretched out his hand, touched him, and said to him, "I do will it. Be made clean." The leprosy left him immediately, and he was made clean. Then, warning him sternly, Jesus dismissed him at once. He said to him, "See that you tell no one anything, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer for your cleansing what Moses prescribed. That will be proof for them." The man went away and began to publicize the whole matter. He spread the report abroad so that it was impossible for Jesus to enter a town openly. He remained outside in deserted places, and people kept coming to him from everywhere. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Before I get into my homily tonight, I wanted to, of course, acknowledge, I know everybody or most people celebrate this weekend or tomorrow as Valentine's Day. And I know it's not that unusual, of course, but I got a little Valentine's from my 3 little nephews in Texas. No, they just moved to Florida, so they're in Florida today. So they made this with their own little hands. They're 7, 5, and 2. Dear Uncle Tom, happy Valentine's Day. Love, James, Vincent, and Michael. And then they made a little heart that I guess I can carry somewhere, and a little bluebird. They know that I'm feeding the birds outside this winter. I've been sending them pictures. I've been telling you about it too. And in the backyard, it seems like a little zoo we're having now. I have birdseed out there and corn cobs for the squirrels, and we have some hay in the field. I haven't seen any deer yet. They're getting close, though. But we have mourning doves and sparrows and finches and chickadees and blue jays, cardinals. And even this morning, for the first time, I saw a woodpecker, which is a little unusual for me. But it's beautiful to watch them. At one point, I counted 62 birds in our backyard at once. So we took some pictures of that. We're all wondering about that. We're all making fun and having fun with it, too. But it's a beautiful thing to take care of nature in the midst of winter. But I just want to mention that it's also beautiful to love one another, of course. And we know that, right? We love nature, we love one another, and we share our love because God is, of course, the giver of all love, and he is love itself. And so, of course, as you celebrate that tomorrow amongst yourselves, remember that, of course, where love comes from and how it's supposed to be shared. For my homily, there are 2 readings today that describe leprosy and deal with leprosy. Not my favorite readings. It's not the best thing to think about leprosy. Thank God it's not something that we're common to in these days. But in the ancient days, it was more common than it is today, and thanks be to God. But there are also saints that dealt with that. We know St. Damien in the Hawaiian Islands, I believe. And we know that it is a blessed thing to take care of one another, to take care of especially those who are outcast. I want to share a story with you. This is a story from another minister and another priest. He said he had been a priest for 25 years, and he was a generous colleague to his other clergy members in the area, and he serving with them and attending ordinations and installations and so on and so forth. He had friends in many churches, and he says, or so he thought. And then there was a dispute that erupted in his church, resulting in some kind of public charges and countercharges, angry public meetings, and critical articles in the local newspapers. He says it was a long, ugly, drawn-out legal process that tore the parish apart. Seeing him at meetings, sometimes his fellow clergy were friendly but distant. After all, they had their own churches, and he says, and their own skins, I guess, to worry about. But in time, the issues were resolved, and the parish was healing. And at their next gathering, his fellow ministers greeted him warmly, clapping him on the back and shaking his hand. And one minister offered a prayer of thanksgiving that all had ended well for him. But later at the meeting, he says that he stood and asked to speak. He didn't talk about the issue that his parish had faced or the long and ugly legal process that came out. He told his brother and sister ministers that about the silence at the center of the noise, the silence at the center of the dispute, about the phone that never rang to offer a gesture of friendship, or his feeling of being deserted by friends and colleagues, fellow priests in ministry. And he asked very pointedly and bravely, I should say, "Where were you? I didn't expect you to take a stand alongside me. It wasn't your battle. But I did expect your friendship, your offer of a prayer, a shared cup of coffee. We could have talked about something else, or we could have just sat together for a bit, not saying anything. Just you being company for me would have meant so much. Where were you?" He was there, and the other ministers as well. And one of those ministers remembers there was a silence and a downcast face of all of his colleagues. And in our silence, he says, we were ashamed. And I hope recalled our better selves as ministers and as people of God. Today we hear in the gospel Jesus addressing such persons, people that seem outcast to us, people that we want to keep at a distance. He's talking about a leper who comes to him and begs him at his feet, "If you wish, you can heal. You can heal me." And what does Jesus do? Jesus doesn't say, "Hey, whoa, stay away. Let's get some distance between us. Where's your bell? You're supposed to be ringing. You're supposed to be warning people, unclean, unclean." If he had a phone at that time, maybe Jesus, would have said, "Well, we don't even want to pick it up. We're just too afraid of you." No, Jesus wouldn't do that. Jesus, in this gospel, does the unthinkable. He reaches out and touches the leper. Everybody must have recoiled to watch that scene. Say, "Oh no, this holy man, this one who's been performing these miracles, he's going to become infected. He's going to become leprous himself." That's not what happened. In doing the unthinkable and saying, "I do wish it, be clean," we are told leprosy leaves him immediately. Immediately. Then the crowd must have said, "Whoa, holy mackerel, what is this? This is miraculous." And then they would probably have wanted to come back, like those other ministers that wanted to clap the other minister on the back and say, "Hey, we're glad everything worked out for you." But where were they in the meantime? Where was the community in the meantime for the lepers? And they always kept them out of the town, out of the city. They had to live alone, all, maybe in a group of other lepers. But they were alone. They were cast out from society. They were cast out from family. They were cast out from church, from temple, from everything. Sometimes that happens to us. Our own attitudes and our own perceptions of other people can lead us to reduce them to lepers in a way, those that we want to avoid for fear of being caught up in their problems or their crises, those who don't fit our own image of class perhaps, or decorum, or those whose politics or religion or race or gender seem different than our own, and perhaps threaten our ideas of how we want everyone to be. We exile people in our own minds sometimes. We exile them to the margins of society and outside the gates of our city walls, as it is. We dismiss them. We all do it. At times, we're learning that we've done it too much to one another lately. We dismiss one another with labels and unfair stereotypes. We reject other people as too unclean, to be a part of our own lives, a part of our own world, a part of our love. The Christ who heals lepers comes to heal all people. He comes to heal us as well. He comes to heal all sinners of our sense of self that blinds us to the sacredness that each and every person holds and the dignity that we each have, because God created us, each and every one of us, in his own image and likeness. Who do we demean as lepers in our own lives these days? Who do we look at or see on TV or just look around and say, yeah, that person, no, I could never get along with them. I don't want to even know that person anymore. They're finished. I'm done with them. They're done with me. We're lepers. They're lepers. Christ came to heal us of all that. So we are to do that also, to heal us of our leprosy, of our own leprosy, so that we're able to realize again that God extends his compassion and grace to each and every one of us. To others, we may be the leper. That's not good either. It's not uniting the world where we need, and all of us need to be. Before God, as I say, because he gives each and every one of us that dignity, because he creates each and every one of us, no matter what language we speak, no matter what color we are, no matter what culture we come from, no matter what political ideology we think we have, he creates each and every one of us. And he does not consider any of us a leper. No one is beyond God's touch of healing, of mercy, of compassion, and of receiving his love. All of us are created in his image and likeness, and whether we're baptized or not, of course we say when we're baptized we're claimed by Christ and we are adopted sons and daughters of God, but because we are also all created by God, we are also, in a way, all of us, sons and daughters of his. All of us are made in his sacred image, in the sacred image of God, the God who preaches to us and heals us of justice, of peace, and especially reconciliation. We can all acknowledge that we are sinful at times, and we'll be doing that beginning on Wednesday for 40 days of Lent. It's a good time to look into our hearts and to look around at where our relationships are broken, perhaps, with one another, to see who we are looking at as perhaps filled with leprosy that we want to keep at a distance, and to also remember and to look at, well, why are some people keeping me at a distance and see me as a leper? We need to begin the healing. We can only do that with God's grace, but God's grace has to extend to us and through us so that we can begin to touch one another again in his love and his healing. Amen.